A very warm welcome to all the viewers of BW Business World. Today we are having with us Dr. Pallavi Rao Chaturvedi, who is the founder for Get Set Parent and EVP ISET Group. Welcome, Dr. Chaturvedi.
Thank you, Risha. Thanks a lot for having me here.
When we speak about 2 years, it's a very short span of time just because it's under a snap in between the COVID times. But when we speak about maintaining a habit or developing a hobby, it takes a settlement in 2 years of time, and that's important. What do you have to say? What have changed in the last 2 to 3 years when we speak of a macro lens in the education segment, but more about how children's mindset have changed and developed in a different manner just because they are switching between online and offline again and again.
You're right. I think the pandemic was very unprecedented, and nobody expected that children and parents will be literally trapped at home for 2 years, and children have borne the brunt of it the most because during formative years it's very important for children to have experiences, and going to school is an experience that is the right of every child. So whether you talk about social interaction, whether you talk about adjustments with your friends, about following instructions with your teachers, all of that is very core to development. And the first 7 to 8 years is really the basis for developing love for lifelong learning, is the basis for understanding critical concepts. So I think children have had it very tough, right? And today we are seeing a learning lag across age groups, and more so the younger children. On the other hand, I think the way parents have gotten involved with children is also something we've never seen before. So earlier it was more like, parents used to leave the schools to do most of the, homework or the studying. And it was the involvement for a lot of parents was limited to parent-teacher meetings, right? How is my child doing? But during the lockdown, I think parents have really got involved, understood, their kids in terms of their strengths, their weaknesses. They've had to get in. There was no choice but to get involved. So I think, with busy parents and, today everybody's working, the time that parents got with their kids and kids got with their parents is very precious. So I think there was a lot of that happening. And plus, adaptation to technology as a family, as schools, as teachers, everybody took on that because also there was no choice. So I think there was a lot of change that happened in children, and it will take time, effort and patience now from teachers, parents and children themselves to come back to normalcy. Yeah, so I think we will have to, give it time for children to come back and really cope with the schedule of school and classes.
You very rightly pointed out that it's very challenging for kids to adapt to every new set of environment they are going into, and it's very, commendable of them. They are adapting to every environment very swiftly. When it comes to parental intervention, it's very, it's kind of an encouraging environment when it comes to parent and teacher conversations about the kids, just because we are getting into a new environment altogether.
Yes.
What do you have to say? What challenges exactly teachers or educators are facing right now, just because they have to experiment with their strategies and approaches in order to teach kids in a right manner? So what challenges are they facing right now?
I think teachers and schools are facing a lot of challenges because the level of learning ability within a classroom has become fairly diverse, right? So when there was when pre-pandemic, most of the class was at one learning level, but now with 2 years of home learning or homeschooling, as it were, depending on the parental involvement, there are learning gaps. So I think teachers, first of all, I think will have to make room for giving time for children to cope, maybe do small bridge courses. I think, a lot of schools are doing that, short bridge programs for concepts which were lost during the last couple of years. So those will need to be brought back, and time will need to be spent on, we were just talking about foundational literacy and numeracy, at least up to, grade 3, the revision of concepts and bringing everybody back to the same level as much as possible. It will take a year or two. There is no miracle which is going to happen. So I think as a community, we all need to, give ourselves that time and be kind on ourselves, our children, and on each other. There is no short track to, or a fast track to covering up on those 2 years.
If you can talk, you have a lot to say about parenting and parental intervention. Just because you have a new venture with you, Get Set Parent, can we talk a little more about it? What's so special? What are the focus areas when we talk about Get Set Parent?
So, I started Get Set Parent the month the lockdown started. Because, we had so many parents who used to write to me and say, ma'am, now what do we do? Because it was a shock, right? For 1 week, it was like, great, we got a break. Then it became a month, then it became a year. So I started, putting up videos for parents on home learning, on behaviors, on what we can do to manage children, for extended periods of time. They're locked in their apartment. What happens to behavioral growth? To behaviors, to emotional growth, to anxieties. There was, children of this age have heard and seen death more than any of us have in our entire lives, right? There was no child who didn't have a family member, a neighbor, or a friend, who lost their lives during the pandemic. So I started putting up videos, and I think that helped our parents a lot. And today we have over 500,000 followers, just following what could be better strategies of parenting in today's times, right? So when it comes to instant gratification, children expect things immediately, right? Movie dekhna, go to Netflix. You want something, you order on Swiggy. So that the whole thing of how do we get our kids to wait, or there were issues to do with anxiety, like I said, tantrums and meltdown. So how do you deal with that? Learning again, concentration nahi hai, memory nahi build ho raha hai.
And the most interesting aspect in all of this is parents are also facing the same thing. It was unprecedented for each and everybody, and dealing it with all along, it was a task. It was a task, and
it was close quarters, right? Everybody was locked in.
And moreover, it's a very encouraging ecosystem right now when we come to startups. When we look at education as a fraternity, it's very rigid in framework. But when we are looking and looking at the industry, welcoming new edtech players and new gen entrepreneurs, it's such a nice phenomena to have a look. But what do you have to say about how the startup ecosystem evolving and specific to the education sector?
I think this is the best time. I think it's very exciting because there is all kinds of learning being embraced today. So on one hand, we have the traditional form of learning, which is going to schools and studying from books. On the other hand, home learning outside of books, right? The Tinker boxes, or we at the Brainy Bear store and Get Set Parent, we create a lot of tools for children between 0 and 5, to help them read, to help them write. So I think there's a lot of hands-on learning or skill-based learning which is happening. On the other hand, there's a lot of edtech also, right? Interactive games. Today we've got so many startups working on at-home learning through apps, through teachers who can, I think that's a great space as well, because you have children in tier 2, tier 3 cities who today have access to teachers anywhere in the country. All of this we could not have imagined. It sounded very difficult pre-pandemic. So I think there's been a mental shift in the possibilities, and along with that, we have to remember the new education policy came in 2020, and the philosophy of that is to keep the child at the center of learning. Right? And the philosophy of that is a global approach, but embracing our roots, going local, right? Language development, conceptual development. So I think it's a very exciting time and a time of transition and change. So for educators, for people in technology to kind of get a bird's eye view and project what could be the changes in future. There's a lot of scope, and I'm also excited to see what all are the possibilities in it.
How lovely put together. For all the torchbearers and stakeholders in the industry, it's very requisite to, focus on the quotient of agility and adaptability, keeping child in the center.
Yes.
What's new coming up? What can we expect from GetSet Parent and ISECT as well?
So yes, as you know, ISECT is a higher education group. We run 5 universities, and we are India's largest skill development network. So I think now for us, we are moving more towards quality-based education, more market-driven courses and programs to deal with futuristic jobs, to deal with employment readiness of students, which is very, very critical. India has been criticized for having huge number of graduates who are unemployable. So I think as a higher education fraternity, that is something which is very crucial to India and for ISECT Group as well. And with GetSet Parent, we are diversifying into more at-home learning, into better tools for parents to help them in their journey of parenting with children. So, whether it's our social media or whether it's our consulting programs or our, learning aids, our aim is to make those first 10 years of a child's life, to make it count, to make the early years count. So that is something which is, the mission that we work towards, and looking forward to a lot of exciting things.
Looking forward, so hopeful to see the new and positive things unfold.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for this conversation. This was a really insightful.
Thank you, Resham, and thank you, BW Education, for organizing
Thank you.
this. Thank you.